here. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. And we're into our big kind of training discussion week here.
I got a lot of good stuff, a lot of good feedback on the intervals. Now we're kind of getting into, going to kind of go over all of the zones, all of those basic training zones that we talk about. And the group ride discussion is coming, hopefully by the end of the week. Actually, it's going to be 2 installments. So I'm just going to go over a couple things here real quick. The long ride, what does that really mean? What's long? What's long for you? First off, we're going to kind of lop off zone 1 into recovery time. You do get some adaptation riding in a zone 1, but it just happens really slow. It takes a lot of time to do that with zone 1. So we're going to kind of talk about zone 2 as kind of that big kind of fitness engine, that big base area that we use a lot. And first of all, why are we doing it? Like, what are the adaptations that actually happen in your body? And I got the 4 big ones kind of listed here as I see them, with capillary density, mitochondria density, fuel consumption. That's a big one, especially for really for everybody. Better fat utilization. If you're going real long, you need to be able to burn fat for energy. The higher percentage of fat your body can burn while at zone 2, if you're doing an Ironman, so to speak, or you're doing a 100-mile mountain bike race or 50-mile mountain bike race kind of thing, that's going to be key. But also, even for the shorter races, the more fat you can burn for energy at those lower intensities and during those short recovery times that you get in a road race, for instance, the more sugar, the more carbohydrate you're going to have spared when you have to go really hard. So if there's a finishing climb to the race, or even if it's just a late breakaway, or even a finishing sprint, having that available spared carbohydrate that's right in the muscles and ready to go can be the difference between winning and missing out in the top 10. So that's key. Neurological durability is the other one that I like to call it that. Muscle memory, if you will. So that's also real key. Then kind of moving down. Okay, that's great. I don't really know. You don't really know a lot about physiological type stuff, but how does this really apply to you in the real world? And how this is really applied to you in your training and in your racing is that individuals that have a well-developed kind of zone 2 engine, those people, they recover better from day to day. So that's obviously going to help you in stage races, or if you're doing a weekend of racing. And it's also going to help you in your training. It's going to help you recover from day to day, from doing hard workout, to hard workout. The better that kind of fitness is, that base fitness that people call it, the more hard workouts you'll be able to do in a week, in a month, the better you're going to recover, the less likely you are to get injured or overtrain, and the quality of your training just starts to go up very rapidly. It'll also help you recover actually during a ride or during a race. So again, with the quality of that training going up, if you're doing a really long hilly ride, or if you're doing intervals, those little breaks that you get, you're going to recover that much better, making that next hill, that next interval that much better. You'll be able to push yourself that much harder, and again, quality of training just goes up. And obviously, it'll enable you to ride faster for longer periods of time. And the other thing, kind of on the fat utilization, it'll enable you to go harder, or it'll enable you to go faster after you're fatigued. So you can think about it as coming off the bike in a triathlon. How fast can you now go? It can mean at the bike race, if you're coming into that finishing sprint or a finishing climb, or bridging up to a late breakaway. It'll enable you to go real hard and to go real fast, hopefully faster than your competition, after a lot of fatigue has been built up. And then the real big question is how do you apply this? So what is long?
And the key thing is, two key things, real simple. One, should be over 70 minutes. After the 70-minute mark, those adaptations that we talked about earlier with the capillary density and fat utilization, all that kind of stuff, those kind of get kicked into overdrive. Before 70 minutes, you don't really get a whole lot of adaptation in that area. Once you go over 70 minutes, that stuff really starts to kick in. So push over the 70-minute mark. And then the other thing is it's got to be repeatable. At a minimum, I like to say you should be able to do that distance, that duration of a ride, and that intensity 2 days in a row without too much kind of fall off of performance. You can have a little bit of fall off on the second day. You're going to feel a little bit tired, but you should definitely be able to get it done. If you do a big 5-hour ride one day, that's great. But if it takes you all week to recover so that you can do the ride again, you're not really going to get that much adaptation. Repeatability is key. It's key on the micro scale. Okay, we need to be able to train several times per week, and then it's also key on the macro scale. This engine, this Zone 2 engine, this base fitness, quote unquote, this kind of stuff builds up year after year after year. And so the repeatability is very, very key. You need to be comfortable doing this. You need to be able to do it, time after time after time again. And then I got a couple notes here on how to maximize your time when you're doing an endurance workout. No coasting. If you got a power file, check it out. How much zero pedaling time do you have? How much Zone 1 time do you have? Okay. You want to be real hard on yourself, you can just lop that right off. So you did a 3-hour ride and 30 minutes of it was coasting around, not doing much. You did a 2.5-hour ride. That's not entirely true. I'm not going to say that Zone 1 time is useless, but if you really want to maximize your time, get in Zone 2, stay there for absolutely as long as possible. Push the intensity up. We're going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow when we talk about the mysterious Zone 3, the mysterious tempo zone. Stay steady. If you're developing a certain aspect, if you're trying to develop a certain engine, you get in there, you start using that engine, you get in that zone, and you stay there for as long as possible. Okay, sprinting for town lines and resting after town lines, and then going really hard up a hill, you're not really developing your Zone 2 doing that. Well, it might be hard, and it might feel like you've got a better workout, quote unquote, afterwards. That's not necessarily the case. Don't start too hard. Biggest mistake ever. We talked about some pacing strategies yesterday. Check that out. You can adapt those kind of strategies for lower intensity stuff too, to make sure that you're starting at a good pace and finishing at a good pace, despite it feeling maybe a little bit different. And check that heart rate. Okay, we talked about this again yesterday. Heart rate's a reactive symptom of what you're doing, of the power that you're putting out, and the duration and the fatigue that you're generating. But it's what your body is doing. So listen to it. It's a cheap, easy tool to use, and you should definitely be using it, particularly on the lower intensity rides. So thanks for checking in. We're going to be back again tomorrow with more training stuff. And hope everyone had a great weekend. Ride safe, everybody. Thanks for checking in, and we will be talking to you soon.